So, this was a complete surprise. I've honestly never had a video of mine earn this much mainstream attention before, but I'm glad it did. It spawned some really nice comments, interesting discussions, and even helped me learn some things I didn't even know. And of course, plenty of new subscribers. So to all the people that decided to hit the sub button and stick around, welcome to the team. There's plenty more cartoon content coming, so I hope you enjoy your stay. But for now, considering my last 10 words or less recap was so successful, it only makes sense to do another one. And with the final season slowly approaching us, what could be a better topic to talk about than Star vs. the Forces of Evil? I will admit that Star vs. isn't really my favorite modern Disney cartoon. I honestly think the DuckTales reboot and Wander Over Yonder are a lot better, but that doesn't mean it isn't jam-packed with unique flavor and charm, because trust me, it is. It acts as a sort of parody/love letter to the magical girl genre of entertainment, complete with buttery smooth animation and tons of memorable characters. I love Star's optimistic personality and wild child tendencies. I love Marco's more grounded and realistic look on Star's antics, and the fact that he's able to participate in the action despite having no powers, kinda like Sokka from Avatar. The music is nice, the fight scenes are great, the comedy is spot on, it's a good, solid show. I will admit that my interest started to wane a little bit during season 3, and we'll get to why that is in the future, but for now, let's see how the show started off with a marathon review of the first 24 episodes. The rules are simple. I'll be giving the episodes a ranking from 1 to 10 based on how much I enjoyed them, for their action, animation, comedy, storytelling, and other things that make for a great episode. You're always welcome to leave your own rankings in the comments below if you disagree with mine, and again, this style was inspired by Jello Apocalypse, so go check out his channel in the description below. So with all the formalities out of the way, let's get started with every episode of Star vs. the Forces of Evil Season 1 reviewed in 10 words or less. Whew, here we go. How to show that Marco is Mexican? All the cacti! Introducing Rule 85 Lumpy Space Princess. Star trolls her teacher. 5, 6, 7, 8. This one isn't all that great. Let's give this episode a big hand. The ringtone is the best part.
We're having a sale on amazing episodes in aisle 4.
Marco's parents need more screen time. Even monsters can practice road safety. Star vs. the Forces of Hormones. Pixies with hair, but no pixie cuts. Missed opportunity. Even Ludo is sick of the monster fights by now. Saving the day by throwing the book at someone.
Dance with the devil!
Unless he's your ex. You will notice some stiff animation. Welcome to the Salvador Dali dimension!
Wet socks, the one true enemy.
It's formidable! I love the creepy visuals! Never trust pop-up history books. They nailed the infomercial parody. Skullneck actually gets development and saves the day. A truly hair-raising adventure. Michael C. Hall plus stoic lizard businessman equals best villain. And now, as custom dictates, it's time for my top 3 and bottom 3 of the season. And I promise to keep these a lot shorter than my first video, because I think my top 10 in that video went on for way too long. Heck, it almost took up the whole runtime. So let's see if we can make these lists shorter and sweeter than before. Here we go. Number 3 worst, Pixtopia. When Star exceeds her magic mirror minutes, she needs to go to Pixtopia to pay for more. And even though Pixtopia seems like the most precious and beautiful place in the world, there's some seedy activity going on beneath the surface, and Star and friends need to escape before they waste away in the Shad Mines. Now, as an adult, I was able to pick up on the fact that something didn't feel right straight from the opening song. But since this is made for kids, I can see this as a passable teaching of the things are not always what they seem message. And some of the designs of Pixtopia and its residents are pretty cool too. But other than that, the story was very thin, the humor was sparse, Star's constant teasing of Marco when he screws up got really annoying, and I don't think Marco's friends are developed enough to hold their own story yet. When they put Miss Skullneck into the spotlight with Interdimensional Field Trip, they made sure to add some interesting bits to her character, like learning all kinds of things about her new troll form. But Ferguson and Alfonso are kinda just two dorky guys and that's it, so it's kinda hard to root for them or feel for them when there's not much to work off of. Plus, at the end of the episode, Star decides to just change long-distance carriers. We never see the Pixies again, they never try to seek revenge or anything. So the entire trip to Pixtopia, completely pointless. Not a terrible episode, just one that didn't really need to exist. Number 3 best, Munipendence Day. One thing that's always been true about certain historical books or propaganda pieces is that the people creating said works have complete control over what you read or see. That means they're able to grossly exaggerate, oversimplify, or even just straight up remove whatever they want. And this episode does a pretty great job of tackling that very idea. Star invites her friends over to reenact the battle, which granted her people their independence. But once Marco points out how one-sided the battle scenes in the book actually are, Star slowly starts to realize that maybe her people aren't the flawless, immaculate heroes of liberty she originally thought they were. And notice I said slowly, because this realization gradually builds throughout the episode, instead of just appearing out of nowhere at the end. And when you look at Star's behavior throughout the story, you realize that she's not rejecting the truth out of ignorance or obliviousness, but out of denial. She doesn't want to believe that her people, her family would do these kinds of things. But the ending scene where she both refuses to blast Buffrog and even leaves a plate of corn for him to enjoy proves that she might be willing to see a monster for who they are instead of just immediately fighting them, showing some real character progression. Plus, the whole idea of a great monster massacre actually gives the monsters a bit of motivation to want to fight the humans. They might want to take their land back or get revenge for loved ones. It's a lot deeper than just, "We are the monsters and we're just gonna fight you because we're the monsters." A very deep and emotional episode with some great moments on both the hero and the villain side. As for Toffee, well, we'll get to him later. Number 2 worst, Lobster Claws. Normally, I'm a huge fan of villain redemption stories and arcs. Heck, Buffrog evolved from generic goon into best side character within a few seasons. But this episode just feels like they were running out of ideas, picked a random monster from Ludo's gang, and decided to make him a good guy for 11 minutes. The humor got a few chuckles out of me, like when Lobster Claws tries to save a girl's cat but then just ends up eating the cat and then eats the girl. That was kind of funny. But other than that, it's pretty light on jokes. Lobster Claws as a character isn't really all that interesting, and it's kind of hard to feel sympathy for a character that only got one other appearance beforehand and is not fleshed out at all. The concept that not all people can be redeemed and that we just need to accept that some people are evil is actually kind of interesting, and definitely something I don't see too often, but I feel like this episode really needed a stronger character in order to hammer that point home. Considering Lobster Claws never shows up again in the series despite Ludo rehiring him, this is a mostly skippable episode. If you want an awesome crustacean character, I'd recommend checking out these guys. They're infinitely better. Number 2 best, Storm the Castle. When you make a season finale, you want to make sure you pull out all the stops to ensure that you go out with a bang, just in case you're not renewed. And even though Star already had a second season guaranteed before the first one was finished, which I still think is really unfair, they still put all of their efforts into this two-parter and produced the most epic adventure that Star and company have ever been on. At least up to that point. The animation is a huge step up from what we're used to, with the fight scenes keeping things fast-paced and energetic, and the dramatic moments taking their time and letting things sink in. Heck, the scene where Star whispers to destroy the wand is so beautifully done it almost feels like a scene in a Disney movie. Oh, wait. This is a Disney cartoon. Well, that makes sense. But let's just cut straight to what really makes this episode amazing, Toffee. I freaking love Toffee as an antagonist. Every second this guy is on screen, you just feel like he's in total control. His demeanor is extremely cold and calculated, always wearing a suit and looking professional. He's like a CEO or manager of all things evil, and it's just such a great idea for a villain. Heck, he could be lying on the floor with his arm cut off and he'll just lay there waiting for the good guys to inevitably fail. He's just so awesome. And of course, Buffrog becomes a daddy for the first time, and it's all uphill for his character from here. It's proof that Star Versus can be serious when it wants to be, and it does it incredibly well. Number 1 worst, the other exchange student.
Oh look, it's an episode where a character shows up that's better than the main character in every way, and everybody loves them, so the main character tries to expose them as something terrible, but in the end it was all misunderstanding, yay.
This plotline has made an appearance in almost every single cartoon show ever made, and sadly I don't think this episode does enough to stand out from the others, at all. Star acts extremely petty and self-centered and just pouts while the Diazes try to be good hosts. Not to mention she tries to straight up murder Gustav with her magic without even getting the full story first. Does sleep deprivation really make her this trigger happy? That's kinda scary, honestly. The reveal that Gustav is acting as an exchange student to see if other people would like his cooking was kind of interesting, I guess, but it's not worth sitting through a really flat and predictable story to get there. As for the humor, well, do you like relentless Scandinavian stereotypes? Because there's a lot of that, and very little else. I guess the stereotypical behavior at least makes sense since Gustav is really faking and has no clue what actual Scandinavian culture is like, but that still doesn't make it any more entertaining. Also, for those who don't know, Scandinavia is not a country. It's more of a collective term for the countries of Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. Not sure if that was a mistake on the writer's part or just another way to show that he was lying, but I just figured I'd tell you. Overall, this is a really basic retelling of the jealous main character story, drenched in stereotypical humor and no real highlights to speak of. I'll tell you something, Mr. Gustav. Why don't you take your meatballs and lederhosen and go stand in the corner by Kringle? Yeah, that's the best I could do, sorry. And my number one best episode of Star vs. Season 1 is, believe it or not, Quest Buy. Before all the overlapping plot points and serialized format, Star treated episodes as simple, self-contained 11-minute stories. And if you ask me, Quest Buy is the best self-contained story in the entire season, and an absolute must-watch for anyone hoping to get into the show. The setting is fantastic. With this gigantic superstore that creatures from different dimensions can visit to stock up on magical items and weapons, plus the name is a pun, and a good one at that. The stakes are incredibly high, with Star needing to find a charger for her wand before it permanently goes dead. Considering that Star's wand has been the most crucial item in the series for both the hero's journey and the villain's motivation up to that point, giving it a ticking timer is an awesome idea, and really amps up the tension. The humor is 100% spot on, with any joke involving the sloth store clerks making me laugh, and of course just the absurdity of all the items they sell in this place. And by far the most interesting part is that both Star and Marco learn a thing or two about being more organized. Star learns that it helps to have a system and to put things in their proper place so that you'll be able to find them when you need them. And Marco learns not to just instinctively clean up someone's possessions without double checking with the owner first, cause your own system might not always be the best thing for someone else. There's a very thin middle ground when it comes to organization, and having Marco and Star both act as the two extremes helps the message come across really well. It's not as big and epic as Storm the Castle, but it's extremely entertaining and the one I tend to rewatch the most. Definitely my favorite of Season 1. Well, that about covers it. If you want to see more seasonal recaps in this style, feel free to tell me the shows you'd like me to do in the comments below. I'm pretty partial to Steven Universe, Adventure Time, and SpongeBob myself, but I'm always happy to hear your suggestions. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I hope to see you all real soon.